everyone. Welcome back to the College Common Ground podcast. I'm so excited that you're back to watch this week's episode. I am joined by two incredible guests to talk about DEI on college and job applications today, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Claire Colbreth, and I would classify myself as an independent. That is what I'm registered as. And then voting, I vote both ways, so I just depends on what the position is. But I've had multiple ballots where I've voted Republican for one thing and Democratic for the other.
I'm Savannah Bartlett. I am a Democrat. Usually vote Democrat unless there's a extenuating circumstance. So yeah.
How would you define diversity, equity, and inclusion in the context of applications both for college and for jobs?
For me, I would define diversity, equity, and inclusion. Um, the questions that ask like your gender, your race, religion, anything sort of that you can't change about yourself. So like your gender, and then I would also include your relationship status and like what you identify as, like pronouns and all of that.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's usually like identity markers. So your, like you said, your race, your religion, those types of things.
What do you see as the central purpose of including DEI criteria in applications?
I think like originally, a lot of it came down to just trying to get to know your applicant more. But I think a lot of what has happened recently is people tend to hire people based on those qualities, whether that's for a good reason or for a bad reason. I think the introduction of like affirmative action, things like that. I know now it's affirmative action is not necessarily a thing, but the introduction of those types of programs definitely incentivized the addition of those.
I would say that they were added. Um, I think they've always been there, specifically when dealing with like women's suffrage, just making sure that, like, for instance, like if you're not a male, like just make sure for that. And then going into Jim Crow laws where you had to specifically state what your race was. So I feel like they've always like been there, and I feel now they're getting more talked about when we've added the whole religious standpoint pronouns, and you're getting into like gender identity.
In your experiences, how do colleges incorporate DEI into their admission processes?
For me, granted, this was like 4 years ago, applying to college. I just remember the marital status. If I was a female, what pronouns did I use? Like asking like your sexual orientation, and then I know a big one is what you identify race wise. Like there was a whole huge list on multiple of my applications. And personally, I mean, it educated me. I didn't know there were that many races. Um, but I guess like your ethnicity and like your background.
Yeah. I know like for me, I'm biracial, so race was a big one to be mindful of. I know depending on the application, it didn't necessarily give me an option to choose multiple. It only gave me an option to choose one. That was stuff like high school stuff as well as coming into college too. So that was that was a little interesting. But I think mainly it was like the main stuff, like you said, was marital status. I know a couple scholarships asked for sexual orientation, if they were geared toward that. Um, but yeah, it was mainly like your race, your religion, and gender identity.
And so, what would you, if you had to state like your opinion on DEI, on specifically college and job applications, what would be your opinion, or where you think it should be at? Obviously, we're at a time where the current administration is trying to abolish DEI. So, what is your opinion on that as a whole? And do you think that it should be a part of applications? And just what's your opinion on that?
Well, first off, I don't think DEI should be disqualified. Everyone has a chance of learning and growing. I learn every day. I think that's always a great process. That is what inclusion is and diversity. And like, if you don't surround yourself by people who are different than you, you're not going to grow. Like you say, you can be in the same room of everyone who looks like you, but you're not going to learn anything or grow. But I feel like on job applications, if you're going to ask for anything according to DEI, can I send in a picture resume? And then the question is always like, no. When like creating my resume to apply for jobs, everyone's like, oh, you can't apply your picture because that would make you biased. Okay, well then doesn't DEI make you biased too? I'm basically saying what I look like in word form versus showing you. So I feel like if they ask for DEI, I feel like they should also ask for a picture, because so many people can click something and you don't know, where you can just either say yes or no. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. I can kind of agree with that to an extent. I think having DEI on certain applications and things, it gets into a weird gray area for me. It's more of, a lot of the time I feel like they're asking for the wrong reasons. Like I know there are some jobs, like if you put down black or your name is too out there, people tend to skip over those applications. So part of me is like, I wish it wasn't on there, because that does take away opportunities from people. But also I think that it's important to know who you're bringing in and know the type of people you're bringing in, because again, diversity is important. And if you are hiring all the same people, then what do you're not going to innovate at all. You can't have people all from the same place, all from the same background, and think that they're going to come up with new ideas.
100% agree with that.
Okay, so what are the strongest arguments for considering DEI in college applications, and what are some of the biggest concerns for you and criticisms around it?
For me, one of my big concerns is people taking advantage of minority groups. I know a lot of speculation is we need to let in a certain amount of minority kids so we can get this grant, so the university can get this amount of money, or we can get this, or we can get this. And I think that's basically using of the kids, and I just don't think that's fair.
I think I do agree with your point, but I think it's still necessary. I think like having programs for people who are in marginalized communities is really important.
Oh, 100%.
Like here at Longwood, we have the Bond program, we have Arrow Empowers, we have First Lancers. All of those programs give opportunities to students that wouldn't have gotten those opportunities before. And having that puts everybody on an equal playing field. I think the common misconception of DEI is that people don't, it's more just giving out handouts, and that's not really what's happening. The E in diversity, equity, and inclusion is equity. And the biggest thing that people don't understand about equity is that it's not special treatment, it's leveling the playing field. People in marginalized communities have always been at a disadvantage, and I think that giving those opportunities through DEI, through different programs, sets up a better starting point for students that are affected by that.
How do you guys feel about scholarships or different grants or such of that nature that people fill out where only certain groups can apply?
So this is something that I'm personally really passionate about, because I am a big user of scholarships. I'm very helpful that my parents are helping me pay for my college, but they're not paying for all of it. And college is expensive. And so scholarships are a really good way to get money for college. And with that being said, I completely do agree that DEI is needed when you are catering towards a specific group. For instance, if it is a Black-owned company and they want to give a Black-owned scholarship, I totally support that, love that. I think that is amazing. The thing that really made me sad when going to apply to a lot of scholarships, though, it had nothing to do with diversity, equity, or inclusion. It was so far out there. You can only apply to their scholarship if you do not identify as white. If you identify as white, you're not eligible to apply. And that kind of made me sad because I worked my butt off in high school and like I would like to be at least considered. I mean, granted, I think a lot of the people who do win that scholarship are so deserving of it, and I'm not saying that, but I would like to at least be considered. Um, yeah.
I think for me, I'm also on scholarships, and I'm in
Yeah.
the same situation that you're in. My parents are helping pay for some, and then I'm paying the rest.
Yep.
But as somebody who is a part of multiple marginalized communities, I rely on those scholarships really heavily. A lot of the time, like I said before, people of color, LGBTQ students, women especially, are passed up for opportunities all the time. So having those scholarships set aside specifically for those groups are so important because white straight men are going to be getting those opportunities all the time. So having those things set aside definitely puts it, like I said before, it levels the playing field. It makes it easier for those who are already at a disadvantaged point to get that same opportunity. And like for me, I like solely rely on my scholarship from Longwood, which is completely academic, but I also got scholarships for my religious affiliation. I got scholarships from the NAACP, for being active in my community and doing different things. And a lot of time, I don't think it's necessarily because I'm in those marginalized groups. I think it's more I did the work within that group, so you're still earning it. It's still a part of the process of being like using your identity to its fullest. And I think that's really where that comes into play.
I do agree with that. For me too, like I also applied for a lot of women-based things, especially since I am like a business major. You don't see a lot of like women can't be in the same room when you're talking business and strategy and finance and like all the big finance bro type stuff. And so I did take advantage of my usage of my gender. But sometimes I'm like, I kind of want to get this and see, like rub it in the face of the guys, like I got this because I'm better than you. Um, but I agree. I think it goes both ways. And like you were saying, like I think it's important that there are scholarships for marginalized groups because I completely agree with you. You guys do have a disadvantage starting out with life, and hopefully one day we can get to a point where that isn't the case. But again, like you said, like the NAACP, I would never in a million years apply for that, and I know that. But again, like if it's a bank putting out a scholarship, and I'm a member of your bank, and I can't apply to it because I'm not diverse enough, it's kind of sad.
I think there's always like the merit base versus DEI. That's like kind of the two like polarized sides of this conversation, right? So it's what do you think about that statement in itself?
It's hard to kind of pick between the two.
100%, especially
Yeah.
when, for me, like I busted my butt in high school. I did 6 hours of homework every night. I cried. Like there were times I didn't even go out to eat with my grandparents because I was like, I don't have time. Like I have to like do homework. I don't have a choice to hang out with you. So for me, like again, that was pre-college. I would have probably answered 100% merit based. Like you get what you put into it. Like everyone has options, just school and everything. But again, like I'm 4 years older, I'm 4 years wiser, I'm 4 years more educated, and thankfully I'm not in my hometown small little bubble anymore. So again, it's really hard to say because it is important to have a wide variety of people to make sure that they feel safe and they have, again, a safe space on campus. Because if you look at a group of people who all get hold on, I'm going to rephrase that. If you look at a group of people who all get accepted into a university and you didn't ask them anything about themselves, and then they show up and then you see that there's only one person of color or there's only one girl out of all the boys, that one girl is going to feel horrible. She's going to have a miserable time. She's probably not going to like it. She's probably going to drop out. And the same thing with the person of color. They're not going to feel safe. They're not going to feel like they have someone. So I think it's important when asking for a DEI because you want to make sure that it is balanced across all areas for people's own like mental health, safe space, and stuff like that. So again, that's a tough question.
Yeah, I think for me, I think merit based should take priority, but also take into account that merit isn't just about academics. It's about where you're starting from. Because me and you can come from two completely different backgrounds, work the same amount, and not be in the same place.
Yeah.
Um, like I know for me, I was in. I know people that had dual enrollment classes, had all this type of stuff, but I didn't have access to that. My school didn't offer it because I was at a Title I school. I was in a predominantly black area, a relatively poor area, but I still worked my ass off. I still got I still got all A's. I was salutatorian. I had a 4.3 GPA, but there were people at other schools that technically, while they had higher GPAs than me, their grades were lower, but they just had higher weighted classes because that's what was offered.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, merit based should take priority. Your work should be what shows for who you are, but we also have to realize that work isn't the only thing that's taken into account. It's not the only thing that is going to show on that piece of paper, because that piece of paper doesn't really show who you are.
Yeah. For me, I did take the dual enrollment and the AP classes, and they are hard. So it's interesting to hear, like, from your point of view, how you weren't able to get that access. And first off, I'm sorry for that. That sucks.
Yeah,
But
like I got them like late into my high school career.
Yeah.
Like my senior year, I was able to take some AP classes, and I passed them all. Like I knew that I could do the work,
yeah,
but the fact that it wasn't offered until then puts me at a disadvantage. to
100%.
everybody
Yeah.
Final wrap up for like the common ground part of it. You guys agreed a lot, I think. So just briefly, like 10 seconds, one sentence, whatever you think, on what you guys thought was similar in your opinions, or where you think there might be a little bit of a separation, disagreement, but overall the common ground that you guys found.
I think we saw a lot of similarities on a lot of things. Um, I'm trying to think of like a part where we disagreed, and I agreed on a lot of things. You also educated me a lot today, which I truly appreciate. And maybe I hope I did too, a little something. But I would say a lot of common ground is like, again, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done in DEI. And I think we both can agree that it shouldn't be as big of a topic today as it is. Granted, yes, it is still like a big topic. It needs to be talked about, but there are other issues going on in the world right now that need to be talked about more.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we definitely agreed that it's a necessary tool right now, and that one day we hope that we won't need that tool, that people are, they're fair to each other automatically. But until we get that, I think we both can say that DEI is necessary, and that even though it may look different for different people, that we still need it as a society.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode. Can't wait to see you next week.